You are your own evidence of enlightenment. Have you ever had an epiphany, an insight, an intuitive message, a feeling of deja vu? Have you ever had a lucid dream, a visitation from a loved one or an angelic being? Have you ever read the words of an enlightened master or a great yogi and felt a resonance where you know that you are hearing or reading truth with a capital T? Have any of those things ever happened to you? When I think I was around 6 or 7, and regularly, like clockwork, I would go to bed at night and I'd often be lying on my side and I would feel my awareness expand to fill the room, and it was as if I was seeing everything simultaneously. I was seeing my body lying on the bed, and everything within the room was my own consciousness. And sometimes I'd travel outside the room too, and my awareness would expand as far as my, I guess, willingness to allow that to happen would say yes to it. So all the way through my life, from a very, very young age, I would have this kind of phenomenon that would happen just consistently all the time, and I often felt that I was the odd one out. But what's happened recently is the more I've spoken to people who've come on this show, and to others who have read my books, and to clients, and people that I know in the community, the more I hear that this kind of phenomenon is so common and so relevant and so accessible to people. They often overlook it, and they think, they either question it depending on their belief system, or they will deny it or ignore it or whatever. Now, as I mentioned in another episode, one of the other episodes, this kind of phenomenon, along with the siddhis, the supernatural powers, are really not the goal of enlightenment. They're kind of here to point the way and to speak to you, to get your attention, and to prove to you that you are not just your mind, your body, and your emotions. You are the vastness. You are beyond time and space. You even though who you are includes the story, and it's important to honor the story, you are far, far more than the story. And if you like I did, if you are kind of propelled onto a spiritual path and you're seeking, and you're doing everything you can to recognize the self, but you feel like you are, lifetimes away or something, I want to just say, really and truly, all self-recognition is turning your attention away from the story and identifying with your history, with your name, with the place you're born, and everything, the narrative that goes along with that, and recognizing that you are the vastness in which your story expresses and plays itself out. So I'd like to just invite you today to look back over your life and make note, either make a mental note or write down some of the times that you've had this evidence, experiential evidence of the truth that you are far more than your mind, body, and emotions. Because with most of us, I'm sure with all of us actually, this evidence has been showing up and proving itself to each and every one of us all the time from when we were very young. But what happens is oftentimes we, like I said, ignore it, deny it, repress it, especially, depending on the belief system. And or you can be afraid of it too. That's another thing that can often happen. And these innate gifts, these kind of innate expressions of the Supreme Self, are continually calling you, inviting you to look deeper and start to notice and start to pay attention to what is always here trying to get your attention. And it's not that you have to, go on retreat for the next 20, 30 years to discover this. The capacity to connect in with the self and to trust your intuition and to be guided from within is always here. It's here in every single moment of every single day. And the simplest practice you can ever do in the world is just, especially if you have a decision to make or you're not quite sure which way to turn or what to do, for example, with a job, should you quit your job or stay in the job that you're in, or, however that plays itself out. And just connect in and invite your own highest wisdom to speak to what is the best course of action for you. And you can feel it in your body, physically and in your emotional body too, and in the subtle body, obviously. And you can ask, what feels like the right thing? What feels right and what doesn't feel right? And if you learn to trust that, trust your intuitive sense of knowing and being, then really you won't go wrong. And then the more you do that, the more you recognize that the truth of who you are prior to the story is always here. And it never comes and goes, ever. It's always here. But of course what happens is our attention moves out and goes searching for help or answers. Whereas when we turn within, it's just really a case of turning back in and trusting what we're feeling and perceiving inside ourselves. And the truth of that never diminishes. It's always on point, always. So the more you trust that, the easier life is, and you can just flow with what is rather than trying to sort of manage it or fight it, or pull it in if you want something, If you just learn to just move with it, flow with it, life becomes very easeful and really beautiful and magical too, because the mind could never wrap itself around the grace and the movement and the abundance of the Supreme Self. So I'll leave that with you today. Just look over your life and think about the times that you've received these beautiful messages and invitations to recognize that who you are is much more than your story. So that's my little hop on today. I hope all is well. If you'd like to ask a question or leave a message, then feel free to do so below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and let people know about this channel. It really helps, especially for people who've been seeking for a long time and they want to put an end to the search. Because as we know, the search can be very exhausting. All right, so take it easy, be well, and bye for now.